Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Dearborn Partner Webinars. This is our November webinar, and it is your business where you want it to be? Hopefully it is. And are you prepared for the future? And really, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about, what happens in life is inevitably you're building something if you're a school owner or operator. And you come to a point where you either want to sell or have to transition ownership. And luckily today we have an expert with us. And our expert is Roberta Caputo. You can read this bio or listen to me read it. Roberta Caputo has been an expert in the field of business brokerage for over 20 years. She's a president and co-founder of Capital Business Solutions and managing member of the Capital Business Solutions Franchising LLC. She is president of the Business Brokers of Florida, South District, and a licensed real estate broker in Florida. Roberta has received the Dealmaker of the Year award multiple times for the state of Florida and is an 18-time recipient of the prestigious $1 Million Plus Award. She is also a member of the Association of Professional Merger and Acquisition Advisors, the International Business Brokers Association, the Business Brokers of Florida, the Business Advisory Board, and the Society of Business Analysts. Roberta also serves, and I'm very thankful for this, as an author and materials expert for Dearborn on the topic of business brokerage. I'm going to go ahead and bring Roberta in. Roberta, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Well, once again, everybody, this is the Dearborn Partner Webinars. I am Toby Schifsky. I'm the Executive Director of Dearborn Real Estate Education, and thank you for being here. Just a real quick, because this is a quick thing. Roberta, we're going to have 30 minutes, right? This is the topic you've spent decades perfecting your skill and craft, and we're just going to touch some of the high points in this half hour. I think we've got we actually have a PowerPoint that we can keep us on task and keep us moving forward. We're going to have some poll questions to ask. Everybody here who's in the listening attendees, you're going to have an opportunity to play along. We want to know who you are, and so we're going to ask some questions so that we can gear the conversation to bring you the most value in 30 minutes. It's going to go fast. It's going to go furious. We have Chris Robinson, everybody. Chris Robinson, the National Account Manager for Dearborn. He is here as a moderator. He will be monitoring the chat box. Roberta and I will be looking at it too. We should be able to play along and you can ask your questions, but Chris will for sure follow up with you across this for the entire presentation. And then lastly, just so you know, these poll questions that we're going to ask, and I'm going to start with them right away, Roberta, to gauge who our audience is. These are anonymous. Nobody's going to see who you are or what your answers were in these poll questions. So, with that being said, I'm just going to run to here, and I am going to jump to the next. And the first poll question, everybody, and you're going to get a chance to answer this. Do you own your school? I want to know who's owners, who's operators, that kind of a thing, right? And so just for us to be able to get a gauge of who actually is on that actually owns your school or has an ownership stake in your school, we would love to know that because understanding for Roberta to be able to hit this close. So go ahead, take a second, answer the poll. It should be on your screen. You know what? And Chandra, if you're on the phone, if you're having trouble hearing, I'm sorry about that. I don't know if you can answer the poll question on the phone. I'm pretty sure you can. It's all right. We got most of the people have answered already. We got another 5 seconds. If you can, do you own your school? Yes, no. I would like to. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to go ahead and guys, I will always post the results, so you'll get to play along here and see. All right, so I'm going to share the results, and here's what we got. We have 69% of you are yes, you own a school, so 23% no, and we got about almost 8% that say I would like to. How about that? So just so you know, Roberta gets excited when she sees that that you would like to, because that's what Roberta does. Roberta, you are a professional business broker, and you operate out of the state of Florida, but you have business brokerage operations around the country. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. And so you guys should all know, full disclosure, Roberta, I've known you for what now? 10, 12 years, something like that.
Well, maybe closer to 15 even.
15. Oh my gosh. I don't know. So, and Roberta is the author for Dearborn on our 30-hour business brokerage training course that was produced years and years ago. And Roberta, once again, thank you for being here. Let me ask you a question, Roberta. We've got a pretty significant amount of the people on here that own their business. I am thinking that we might want to ask another question. That is, are any of you planning on selling or transitioning? Like, when are they? Right? We would also, I think, want to know a time frame. So not only do you own your business, but have you thought about selling? And so I'm going to go ahead and just ask one more poll question, everybody, and this will put us in a really good spot. Once again, this is anonymous. Nobody's sharing anything, but it will really help us play along here. I'm going to do one more poll, and then we're going to move into the meat of this. All right. So here comes your next poll question. And the poll question is, when are you planning on selling? All right. When are you planning to sell or transition your business? In the next 12 months, 2 to 4 years, 5 to 9 years, or by? I'm in this. I got a 10-year horizon on this thing for doing my school. Go ahead and play along. I think we've got a 10 plus. Look at that. They're answering in the chat. They're answering on the love it. 10 plus. Just remember, if you put it in the chat, but I can see your name. So if you're okay with that, that's fine. All right. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. This is interesting. So when are you planning to sell or transition? In the next 12 months, 30% of you are looking to sell in the next 12 months. 2 to 4 years, 15%, 5 to 9, 15%, and 10 plus, about 40%. So 30% in the next 12 months. That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, I can tell you this, Roberta, I think you know, but the real estate schools have had a really good run in the last year. I mean, COVID's been hard and horrible for a lot of people, but frankly, I think most real estate educators had a pretty good year last year, and at least the first half of this year, really a fantastic year. And so we're at a spot now where maybe businesses are worth more than they were before, and I think really the whole question comes down to kind of what is a business worth? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure we're on track. So I'm going to run to valuation, and really what well, we'll come back to that. So valuation, why is it important to know the value of your business in your world, Roberta? Why is it important?
Really, there's a few different reasons that are key to business owners. Number one, there was just a national poll that was done, and it said out of over 200 million businesses, it's estimated only 2% actually know the value of their business. That's a frightening statistic, because what's happening in this environment, just like we know, and there are a lot of different segments that did do very well during COVID. And what's happened is the upper market, the private equity groups, the family offices, national investors are swooping down on these businesses and approaching these folks and making them these offers that they're really hyping up and making the business owners feel that they're getting a great opportunity, when after analyzing all of these sales, on average, they're accepting between 35 and 40% undervalue. So that's very frightening. When you've worked to build up a business entity, you deserve to get paid for it.
So let me ask that question, because I want to give it back straight to everybody to really know what's going on in the marketplace. So from your perspective, as the expert in the room here, typically those big, family offices, which is like deep family money, everybody, right? So family money, they got to spend their money somewhere. So they have people actually running that family money and investing in businesses or large equity-backed partnerships and companies right out there. They normally aren't reaching all the way down into middle America, middle to smaller businesses, right? So less than $30 million of revenue a year. What do you think the cap is normally, where they normally used to not go, but now they are?
Previously, generally they were looking at, over $2 million of EBITDA. There were some of them that you would get that would say, all right, anywhere $1 million or more. But now they're going down, and what they're trying to do and accomplish the same goal is roll-ups. And they're swooping down on all of these smaller companies, and they're trying to roll them up into a package and then raise their earnings by X percentage.
So they're reaching lower, grabbing little pieces, stacking them together, and rolling it up, which they normally hadn't done before, which tells you there's a lot of money at the top.
A lot of money right now.
And it's coming in. And so people are being approached. And what's your advice there? Because I think what you're going to say is you should know your value, because otherwise somebody tells you your value and that might not be the value, right?
Well, that's what happens. A lot of folks that I talk to say, well, my CPA gave me the value of my business. And in reality, it's a very long process. There are a lot of factors that affect the ultimate multiplier for a business. Sure. And there's a sanity check. We have to subscribe to a lot of private sites that report the sales in a given region. So our analysts and researchers go back and they do local, regional, national comps. And that's really telling us, is our valuation right on? Are we where the market is at? And even more importantly, since the debacle in 2008, when a huge percentage of the SBA, the Small Business Administration loans failed, they then started having third-party appraisers, valuation specialists come in, and you have to pass muster with their valuation. And I would say since then, our valuations haven't varied more than 5% plus or minus than these third-party valuation specialists. And it's important. It's important for everyone to know what their value is. And so if someone comes and offers them a sale, to sell, they know whether or not they're getting a fair deal.
Right on. Is it real? Is it bona fide? And here's the other thing. This is kind of a voluntary part of it too, but I'm imagining there's other parts of that you deal with all the time with selling businesses, and understanding what the value is all the time must be important, because a lot of the businesses you sell, I think we've talked before, nobody thought they were going to sell, but because of a death or because of a divorce or some other world event or thing that affects them, they have to sell. And I'd imagine that the urgency for that is immediate. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And so if your business and your school is prepared for sale, which I always tout that from the day you open a business entity, no matter what type it is, you should always be prepared to exit that business. Well, and that's how a business should be run.
I know it's hard though. Like I know, like even for when you have a house, the markets are changing and moving. Like, what's the value of my house? In the real estate industry, and staying on top of that. And a business, there's a few more variables involved with a business, and staying on top of what the value is can be hard. Some people, have never had a valuation. I see a question from Mary Jo, how do you get a business appraised? And I think what you say is that a business brokerage, a capable business brokerage would probably be able to offer you a valuation. I know you do valuations that can cost thousands of dollars. But hey, by the way, as a Dearborn partner, you guys, I think Roberta's got an offer for you by the end of this. Now, this isn't a big infomercial, but she's being very gracious. And as an author at Dearborn, is going to, I think I'll let the cat out of the bag, offer a free valuation if you want at the end of this video. But the idea is this: you can have an appraisal, professional third-party appraisal for your business. Costs you money, out of pocket, or you can get a business valuation from a business broker. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right. So let's do this. I want to know how many people know the value of their business right now. I would love to be able to see how many of the people on here that own the school or operate or have a part ownership of the school, how many of you really know the value of your business? So I'm going to go ahead and ask our poll question number 3, which is, do you know the value of your business? And I'm really interested to see if you know the value, like to the penny, man. I've got this. I am on top of it. Oh, I can tell you right now that most of you are like me, which is the last answer, which is not at this moment. I don't necessarily know the value either, but I have a pretty good idea, or I sort of know. Go ahead and take a moment to answer. Wow, this is kind of an overwhelming landslide. I know you guys can't see the results yet, but there's an overwhelming landslide. One of you brave souls has said to the penny so far. That's amazing. I love it. You are on top of it. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this. So the answers, once again, are to the penny, or I have a pretty good idea, or sort of, or, not at this moment. I have no idea. All right, 3, 2, 1, we're going to end the poll. How about this? I'm going to share these results. Everybody get to see us. So you won't feel bad if you said not at this moment, because just about everybody, 77% of you said, I don't know the value of my business. Not really at this moment. I kind of think, but I don't even know how to go about it. And then one of you said, look at you, brave soul, said to the penny. I love it. That's absolutely awesome. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and finish and close this poll. So does that surprise you, Roberta? I guess it doesn't, because you said there's like 2 million or 200 million.
200 million.
200 million businesses, and less than 2% really know what their business is worth. So don't feel bad, everybody. The good news is we're going to cover a couple things that you can do really quickly here. And so let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward our PowerPoint slides. What's needed for evaluation? Roberta, can you give us what's needed for evaluation?
I can. First of all, there's a checklist that we send out. And what we want to do when we're giving the valuation is not only give you the value, the market value of your business, but we also want to include those formulas, etc., that if you ever wanted to purchase a business, if you wanted to grow inorganically and grow through acquisition, that this valuation would help substantiate your ability to run a new school, another school, and that you could collateralize and what you could collateralize your school for.
Interesting. So that's an interesting point. So I know we talked about this, about what perspective to actually talk about this to our Dearborn clients. Like, should we talk about this today as an acquisition opportunity or as a selling opportunity? And you kind of set me free when you said it's the same process. As long as you understand what it takes to prepare your business for sale and all the bits and pieces that go into that, you're going to be looking for those same things if you were going to go buy it. So it doesn't really matter buying or selling. There's a lot of the same pieces involved and the knowledge that you need in order to make a good decision. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. But I didn't answer that question yet. Yeah. And, there's a lot of different ways to do evaluation.
Sure.
And now we have a very interesting dynamic, which is COVID, which we've never had to deal with before. Mm-hmm. And so what the lenders and what buyers want to see, well, what were you all doing pre-COVID? Where were your levels? How'd you perform during COVID? And now, more or less post-COVID, are you maintaining those increased numbers?
Got it.
So we're doing valuations that are a bit more involved now, so we can demonstrate and respond to all of those questions.
Got
and
it.
That not only for a buyer who would be interested in knowing what the trajectory was, but also for a lender.
Sure.
And that goes either way, whether you wanted to collateralize by using your school, or if a buyer needed to see what the lender would support. The business cash flow would have to support debt service and their salary. And So those are important factors to take into consideration before, during, and post.
So everybody always asks on valuation, right? I think everybody on here who's a school owner goes, I'd like to know what my value is. I think everybody, I'm not even going to ask that poll question, but if you had a company, you would want to know what the value is. I think it's part of the reason why you're here. But how is it kind of determined? How is value determined? Is it, I mean, everybody hears about multipliers, but what does that really mean? Like a multiplier? I mean, is there a rule of thumb you can go, well, if this, then this is kind of the rule of thumb. Is there anything like that really in the business?
You know, that kills me when I hear people say, just give me just give me an estimate, you know, what they usually go for. And I said, well, you know, for a school, let's say that the rule of thumb would be anywhere between 3 or 5 times multiple. So
and that multiple of what? Of what number? Of revenue or of like?
No, revenue it really is unimportant. Everyone wants to know what they're going to earn at the end of the day.
So profit. What's your?
It's your net profit. It's your EBITDA and cash flow.
And EBITDA again for everybody out there is
earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay. So earnings before interest. Taxes,
depreciation, and amortization.
Okay. So, all right. So, and then for that, then you say, all right, EBITDA, at the end of the year, I'm sitting with this number. 3 to 5 times that number is a typical selling price in a typical market. Is that correct?
So, you know, when you want to sell, you can bet if someone's making you an offer, they're going to be offering you at the three
times,
or maybe
right?
2.5.
Yeah. Hey, triple now.
You know, and if you're getting a 3 to 5, that means some of them are worth even more than that. So we need to do the work. We need to break down.
That's a big swing between 3 times and 5 times. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars difference.
And if you use a $100,000 EBITDA number. Yeah. You know, do you want to walk away with $300,000 or $500,000?
Yeah, right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So awesome. The list that we give is generally something you would pass to your accountant. They are legally obliged to keep everything in electronic format and generally send it to us the same day.
Got it. Confidential, all that stuff. You don't tell everybody. You don't tell Dearborn. You don't tell anybody. This is
no.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we execute non-circumvent non-disclosure that says this information being provided will solely be used for valuation purposes and then returned or destroyed after.
And you're going to get that from most brokerages, right? Or at least you should be looking for that from a business broker who's going to help you, right? Everybody should be looking for it.
You want their first communication with you to be, we are willing and want to execute a non-disclosure agreement with you for the secure exchange of information between our companies.
Got it. Excellent. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to run back and keep us on track. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left here. And so I'm looking at this and how do I prepare? What's necessary to prepare my business for sale? Because I'll tell you right now, real quickly, a lot of the people that are clients and customers of Dearborn, they're owner operators, right? They've been teaching, they've been in the classroom, they've been dealing with students directly. They are an integral part of an operation. And for a lot of them, it's like, well, if I sell, well, who's going to do my job? Does that hurt my business if I'm all the way in and I can't extricate easily? What should I be? Does that all play into the value?
So it does play in. Well, there's 2 types of sales. There's one where you're going to go in and we're going to market it as owner operator. Mm-hmm. So our expectation is that someone is going to come in and take over your duties.
Got it.
By and large, everything that you do will be transferred to the new owner.
Got it.
So that's the first type of sale. And the other is, do you have management and infrastructure in place so that school could be run absentee owner?
Absentee. So somebody comes in as an investor, buys it, right? They own the company, but they don't do the daily operation. And at some point you leave, but the business keeps going. There's employees, right? And that gets us into the whole question of what about hanging around after a sale? And what about our employees, right? I mean, I'm sure this brings all those questions up also, because I think a lot of people put a lot of heart and soul into the business, and they don't really want, they got relationships with people in the business, and they want to make sure that they're not hurt because of the sale. Does that ever play into,
It always plays into it.
It does.
Okay. So number one, I always tell folks, you have to be prepared to spend some time in the business during the transition phase. So don't wait until you're like, I'm at the end of my rope and I never want to walk through that door again. I want out.
That's too late.
that hurts. It really does. It hurts the value of your business when you're not willing to really help with that transition. So you want your employees in place. You want your employees to stay on. You want to be able to be willing to give a good transition period. And sometimes to continue on some level, maybe as a paid employee or a professor or a teacher or consultant. So there's a lot of different opportunities post-closing.
And that plays into it sometimes, right? That can even play into the value you receive for the business, right? If you're willing to stay around and help transition, maybe for a new owner operator, or sometimes a bigger company might buy you and say, no, you're good, off you go. And I get that. But what about
it's unusual?
What's that? That's the usual?
It's unusual because folks like to know that the owners aren't looking to take the money and run.
Yeah.
So it does help if you're willing to, or at least make the offer.
Got it.
Maybe that even more important.
And I would imagine as you go through a valuation process, like if you're going to do a business valuation for somebody, and this is for everybody out there, if you get somebody to do a valuation, they should be able to highlight trouble areas. Like, listen, here's an area where you maybe need to extricate yourself, or you need to, do your books differently. I mean, everybody, we have a 30-hour, a 600-page textbook on business brokerage at Dearborn. So there's a lot of stuff here, and I know we only got a couple minutes left, but there are things that can be consultative, and how does that work when you meet with somebody? Generally, they're either are already under the gun, they need to sell immediately, or you can help them prepare over years to get in a really good spot. Is that correct?
And that's our preference, at least 1 to 2 years in advance. When other folks want to sell more quickly, we need to expedite that whole process. There are areas and factors that people don't even consider or even know about that we need to work on. So we look at the whole structure and go forward from that point.
Got it. Okay, so let's move on to our last topic, because once again, there's many pieces and steps, and people sell. It's great when people can sell because they want to, and they've done the work ahead of time to have the valuation and to know exactly what it's worth, and their books are all clean and their business is structured properly. But sometimes, right, stuff happens in life and you're not there, and it has to sell immediately, and that's a different animal, right? I mean, that's when you really need somebody who can come in and put the pieces together and get it sold. Is that
so? The more quickly you're able to go to market after some life event that happens that forces you into that position, or the people left behind. So you want to make sure there's no commingling of funds, that you clean that up and you remove any discretionary spending or expenses from
your kids' cars are in under the, or telephones, and they're not even working there. Yeah. So clean your books up is I hear that all the time. And I know you've preached that since I've known you, is no commingling is the easiest way to make sure you're ahead of the game for selling your business.
And what people don't like, what investors don't like, to say, well, on the tax return, they're showing $10,000, but here's $120,000 add backs of discretionary spending. All kinds of alarms go off. So it really is. It's important that you try to separate that. and understand that people are trying to avoid paying anywhere between 20 to 30% in taxes. But what adding that back in, let's say it's $100,000, it could mean that $100,000 is costing you $30,000 in taxes, or you're forfeiting up to maybe $500,000 in resale price.
3 to 5 time multiplier on that 100 grand.
On that number, whatever it may be. So
interesting.
You really need to own that and understand it and then live it.
All right. So I think the last thing we're going to be able to cover is really that whole thing about owners and employees, right? So let me just jump ahead here because we've talked about preparation. Owners and employees. Will the owner be required to stay on? What generally happens to, I think we've talked about the owner, but what generally happens to employees post-closing? Because I know a lot of people here have people who've worked with them for years, or they're very dedicated to their employees, and that's a part of what holds them back from making a move. What happens to employees?
Yeah, folks don't realize that probably the single most important asset of their company are their employees. So where they're always worried that folks are going to come in and replace them or whatever, that rarely happens. Yeah. So that asset they want to protect. What you can do is either give them employment contracts, or at least have them sign non-competes. So, there's not a grand exodus, which we wouldn't expect to happen in any event. But know that generally post-closing, the new acquirers are trying to improve benefits and salaries, et cetera, so they can keep that important asset.
Retain that talent, right?
Yes.
Right on. All right. So I got one last poll question for you, for everybody. And that is, and it's really the very last thing we're going to talk about. We've been talking about selling, but what about acquisition? You know what? I think I'm just going to throw this up real quick. Anybody actively pursuing acquisitions that are here listening in order to grow your school? Some of you are very successful in your school, and it's a long slog going an organic growth, 1%, 2% a year. And I'm just wondering what percentage of you are actually actively pursuing growing through acquisition, which can be a great way, because I think what Roberta told us earlier is that lenders like to see that you have a track record in this business. And if you're successful, they say, well, this person already knows what they're doing. So are you thinking of growing through acquisition? Once again, this is anonymous. I'm actually pursuing this now. How about you? Good for you. I've thought about it, or I have not had the time to think about it, or, I'm not really interested. I got my thing and I'm doing my thing and I'm good with that. Go ahead and take a stab at the poll questions, everybody, because I think, Roberta, what you told me before is, if you've got a track record of running a successful school, it could be a much simpler process getting approved for any sort of financing when it comes to actually purchasing a new opportunity and growth through acquisition. Here we go. Look at these results. So we got 54% of the people have said, I thought about it. Nobody's saying pursuing, even though 40% of you said you were looking to sell in the next year. For those other people, you might go, maybe I should be growing through acquisition. And then once again, about 36% saying not interested. So what about that, Roberta? Growth through acquisition. How hard is it to actually buy another? I mean, a lot of these people are so busy, they don't have the time to do it. How hard is it to buy another company?
So when we talk about selling a company and what the buyers are looking for, now you're in that position. And there's a unique thing, because now the bank is looking at your entity. So it's important, again, keep your books and records.
Yeah, you got to have your stuff in a row.
You have to be able to demonstrate that you're able to run a good organization, a professional organization. Make sure, again, there's no commingling, etc. And so we want to look at, and your reputation. We can't overlook the importance of reputation. Now, years ago, people could fly under the radar and not and not be signaled out.
We'll check the Better Business Bureau for you, and either you were or you weren't, written up there or not. But today, reputation is front and center, right?
Exactly, and you can't hide from it. So your best keep in front of it and be aware of what it is. And if it needs improvement, then take those steps to make those improvements.
Got it. Roberta, we are at the end of our time.
I know there's so much more I'd like to
tell you. I know. Anyway, this is a huge topic. Hey, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and put the PowerPoint slide up at the end. It's got Roberta's contact information. She has opened herself up. She has also opened herself up to a fantastic offer of evaluation. If any of you guys want to have a free full-on business evaluation, and I think they cost thousands of dollars regularly. Right, Roberta, you're willing to do that for these people?
We are. At no obligation and no cost.
No obligation, no cost, confidential. If you want, here, I'm going to go ahead and put Roberta's contact information up on our closing screen. I'll leave it up there for a little bit, and then we'll end the session. But I wanted to thank you, Roberta, once again. A true pleasure. I love the work you do. You are a consummate professional, not only in the business, but also as a subject matter author. And we thank you from Dearborn.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope to hear from all of you.
There you go. All right, everybody. I'm going to put her contact information up, and you guys have a great day. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.